Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're someone who's been around for a while, then welcome also. I really appreciate you being here. Today I wanted to discuss modes. I think a lot of people get really confused about modes. And I've seen a bit of discourse lately where people have talked about how modes suck and how you don't need modes and you don't need this and that and whatever. And there's some truth to that. Some people don't need modes, right? If you're a country player, you're probably not going to use modes. That's totally cool. But if you play jazz like I do or fusion stuff, well, there's probably going to be cases. And I think the confusion comes as a lot of people don't understand when something's a modal thing and when it's not. I'll give you a prime example. I've seen this a bit lately. The song Sweet Home Alabama. I'm sure you all know it, right? It's a classic kind of covers band thing that everybody plays for good reason, right? I've seen people talk about that song in all kinds of ways that are confusing. Firstly, like, which key is it in? Okay, so let's start there. That song is in D. I don't care what anyone says if they say it's in G. It's not, right? Like, could you imagine the song going and finishing? No, it doesn't finish there. That's unfinished. That's the 4 chord. There's the finish, right? Everything leads towards that D chord. So we're in the key of D. Even the melody was really, right? It's like all leading towards that D chord. So we can just establish it's in the key of D, right? And then the melody, right, is kind of a giveaway, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I've heard people say, well, if it's really like a 5 chord, a 4 chord, and a 1, so it's kind of like D Dorian. Sorry, it's kind of like D Mixolydian, right? Which has the same notes as G major, right? Well, no, it's not D Mixolydian either, right? And this is where people get confused, right? Yeah, you can use D Mixolydian over it, but it's not modal. It's not a modal tune, right? To me, the giveaway is in the melody. The melody goes, big wheels keep on turning, whatever it is. Da, 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 da. Right? It's this kind of thing. It's like that sharp 9. Right? There's the melody note against the D chord, right? Could see that maybe as like part of the G7, but it's over the D chord, right? And the thing with that's telling me it's treat it like a blues, right? I've always said to people, if you're learning a song, learn the melody, and then you're gonna know what the answer is to what you need to do. And in this case, the answer is really clear. It's blues, isn't it? It's kind of bluesy. So I'd use a mixture of major and minor blues, and I'd probably play chord changes and stuff like that. I wouldn't take a D Mixolydian approach. That's the wrong approach. It's not a modal concept, right? And I think that's what happens. A lot of times people try and fit a chord progression like that. It's a little unusual to them, and they try and fit it in a box. That's not a box. It's a blues, right? It's bluesy kind of in nature, right? Now, you can play modes. I'm not suggesting you don't, but my approach would just play each chord change, play the blues, and there you go. That's it. Base some stuff off the melody, probably going to play a good solo. So what is a modal concept, right? If we take the tune like the classic Miles Davis song, So What? I know it can be played, right, because it's played on a bass, but I always played it up an octave like that. If we look at what's going on there, it's 8 bars of D minor, right? And then the next day section is the same, 8 bars of D minor. Then it's 8 bars of E flat minor, and then 8 bars of D minor. So it's like this AABA form. Each A section is just one chord, D minor. And in this case, you can see by the melody, we have this, right? That's happening over the top of it. To me, that song, it's not really D minor. I don't think of that as being in D minor. I think of that as being in D Dorian. Right? It's not. It's that, but it's also this, and it's also this. Yeah. any of those are good, right? Those are chordal voicings that are built off the mode. To me, you're playing in a mode, and that's the difference. Sweet Home Alabama is you're playing like this bluesy kind of soul, southern jam type thing. This case, you're playing in a mode, right? It's definitely a modal thing. So to me, the approach to So What is to play D Dorian, not D minor, and that's the big difference, right? And there's lots of examples of this, right? I've actually seen a lot of arrangers that I've played their charts for, and what they'll do is they'll maybe have some chords go along, and then maybe they'll give me 8 bars and they'll say B flat Lydian. Now, do they mean that chord? Possibly. Really what they mean is they want me for 8 bars to think this. And all of its permutations that relate around that B flat Lydian kind of thing. So in that case, we can have something that's modal existing with something that's a song, or with chords, and that's a different approach. Again, that's modal blended with other stuff, but it's pretty clear when it's modal and pretty clear when it's not, because they'll tell you, they'll say B flat Lydian, and you've got that for a series of time. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion around modes come, and people say modes suck or whatever. Well, they do suck if you're trying to use them in the wrong way. You use any musical concept in the wrong way and it sucks, right? Pentatonic sucks if you use it in the wrong way. Blues scale sucks if you use it in the wrong way. But if you use it in the right kind of context that makes music and speaks something to the audience, man, now you're playing music, and that's when it transcends the scale. It's not even really about that. The scale just becomes a starting point, right? And that's why when I hear amazing guitar players play, to me, it's not even really about anything to do with style or any of that kind of stuff, or scales or any of this stuff. Scales are just a way of describing all this stuff, but they give you a starting point. You got to have a starting point. You don't have a starting point, you're kind of working blind. So that's why I think the thing to look at is to go, right, is this progression actually modal or not, right? And in a lot of music, it's not. But if it is, then you can use modes, right? And if it's not something that's modal in context, like Sweet Home Alabama isn't, then don't go there. Do something else. Yeah, so let's back to So What. So that's a D Dorian sound. So what my approach to something like that would be, okay, well, this could be a chord. In this case, it's a 2-note chord, and I know it's kind of built off D minor. But so could this. I just went D, G, C. That's a chord. I don't know what it is. I mean, in that case, it could be kind of like a minor C over D, kind of, but missing a third. Who cares? I'm not thinking that way. I'm not thinking of C over D or any of that. I'm just thinking those notes all fit in my mode. Interesting one there. I actually played a note that was outside of the mode, but does that mean I'm not in the mode anymore? No, it doesn't. It's like anything, you can chop and change, and doesn't have to stick to one thing, because one thing can be boring. You can use a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A guitar player uses modes really well in the rock kind of setting is Steve Vai. Some of his music can be quite modal at times, and it can also be quite not modal, right? But you'll definitely find parts where he's going into Lydian territory. Like, that's a big one that I hear him using a lot. Miles Davis, So What, as I mentioned, is a really good example of Dorian. There are lots of Dorian ones, right? Oye Como Va, the Santana version. Tito Puente wrote it originally. That's a really good example of Dorian. There's lots of them. Anyway, check it out and make up your mind for yourself. At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is what sounds good, right? Because who cares if you can theoretically explain something if it's wrong? If it sounds wrong, then it is wrong. If it sounds good to your ear, then it is good. Anyway, hope this is helpful. If it is, please like and subscribe. I post a couple of videos a week. Don't email me on my website. As I've mentioned, my website is down at the moment, nickgranville.com. I don't have it anymore. Hit me up on social media. That's the best way to do it. Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. Hey, cheers. Take care.